The Certificate of Primary Education is the first exam in the school curriculum. Learners are usually still very young when they face this first milestone in their lives. The motorbikes is the most flexible mode of transport, the fastest over short distances. It is also the most adapted to the state of Benin's roads and the closest to users of all categories. South Africa's Health Minister Joe Fowler says that COVID-19 had a devastating impact on families and livelihoods and added pressure to the country's health system. Good afternoon. You're tuned into Golfe TV Africa. Welcome to the 1 p.m. news edition. I am Itunu, SHONEYE. Here's the news in details. The motorbikes is the most flexible mode of transport, the fastest over short distances. It is also the most adapted to the state of Benin's road and the closest to users of all categories. Although intrinsically an individual mode of transport, it often plays the role of a collective mode of transport. But does it respect the highway code? More details in the report. It is an unavoidable means of transport in the lives of the majority of city dwellers. As with rural people, the motorbike plays a key role in local relations, national and sub-regional. This is confirmed by some users.
Les émigrants aujourd'hui au Bénin, ils sont très importants pour nous.
The motorbikes in Benin today are very important for us. Those who don't have a means of transport will be able to get the motorbike quickly to go wherever they want to. But for taxis, many people do not like to take taxis because the motorbikes are faster. You take a motorbike quickly and save a lot of time. With the motorbikes, you save a whole lot of time. It is a very important means of transport. If the state can help by making it compulsory that all road users learn and respect the traffic rules, there will be a reduction of accidents on the roads. This mode of transportation is unique in the services it provides in the context of a developing country like Benin. In this aspect, it complements or competes, depending on the situation, with other modes of land transport, including taxis and private cars. For Eric Denovi, head of the Road Control Division, Education and Statistics at CNSR Itunu, for better driving, riders of 2 and 3 wheels need to know the traffic rules. Benin's highway code was put in place by Decree number 430 of 23rd November 1965, regulating traffic on roads open to the public. It is intended to promote public safety and facilitate the free movement of people and goods. In the words of Ghislaine Agbesi, driving instructor, the A2 license is recommended for 2-wheelers. It is urgent that every motorbike driver has a license to drive in order to preserve his life and the lives of others in traffic. The Certificate of Primary Education is the first exam in the school curriculum. Learners are usually still very young when they face this first milestone in their lives. With only a few days to go before the exam, what practical steps should parents and teachers take to provide optimum results for these learners? More details in the commentary. Knowledge is a defense and a school the arsenal. A few more days and the candidate of the Primary School Certificate CEP session of June 2023 will face their fate. After 9 months of hard work, they will be evaluated in order to determine those who would have assimilated the concepts taught in the class. Beyond the responsibility of children, parents have a crucial role to play in the run-up to these exams. They are the ones who spend more time with them each day. Teachers are making arrangements and are ready for the examination. In order for the student to be able to take this exam, it is necessary that the students arrive at the examination room in good health. To make this possible, steps must be taken. The educator feels that this is not the right time to put unnecessary pressure on the learner. This is a counterproductive approach. Learners in the 5th grade will test their knowledge from Monday 5th to 8th of June 2023. There's no fear, there's no need to panic. The exams are just like the classroom tests. It is nothing new, reassures the teachers. The government of Benin has decided to repair the General Matthew Keruku Stadium in order to host major sporting events. The regulars of the sport complex appreciate the progress of the work. More details in the extract.
Ce que moi je vois ici comme travaux, il y a un changement.
What I am seeing here is like any other project. There's a change. I come here very often. I always come to the stadium. I have seen that there is a change compared to before. The stadium is neater compared to before.
Concernant le stade, dès la rentrée, j'ai constaté que le stade est vraiment propre, l'espace est bien aéré.
During resumption, I observed that the stadium is really neat. The space is well kept, and I really appreciate this. The work is progressing well. Before the stadium was neat, but right now it is more neater. The project is moving progressively. I can say that I really appreciate the initiative of renovating the stadium. Now, if you can see the interior and the exterior, you will see that there's a lot of progress in the work done. The stadium is really attractive.
C'est une bonne initiative qui évolue très bien.
It is a great initiative that is very well done. It was closed for a time. Between the duration of its closure, we can see that everything here changed. It is a welcome development because there's no day you won't see people working, and you can also see lorries going and coming. You will see that in this regime, there are deadlines given and deadlines are respected. When governments give deadlines, the contractors meet up with the deadlines and execute the projects. I want the government to continue with this. We can observe that the country has changed, so all other people doing the project should be put under pressure so that it can be done at the expected time. South Africa's Health Minister Joe Fowler says that COVID-19 had a devastating impact on families and livelihoods and added pressure to the country's health system that was already overburdened with diseases such as HIV and AIDS and tuberculosis.
After 3 years of anguish from COVID-19, the world is breathing easier again. The World Health Organization has downgraded the pandemic from a global emergency, but has warned the danger is not entirely gone.
The worst thing any country could do now is to use this news as a reason to let down its guard, to dismantle the systems it has built, or to send the message to its people that COVID-19 is nothing to worry about.
South Africa was the worst hit African country. Over 100,000 people died from the virus in 3 years. Local health authorities have cited several reasons, including global connections, a high rate of comorbidities and rigorous screening.
We have also a little bit further advancement compared to many of our neighbors in terms of diagnosis and testing, especially when the pandemic broke out. Even here in South Africa, we had some capacity to test, but not as extensive as required, but far better than many of our neighbors.
COVID-19 had a devastating impact on families and livelihoods and brought added pressure to the health system, already overburdened with diseases such as HIV and AIDS and tuberculosis.
Because we've had to divert our energy and efforts at treating COVID, those diseases obviously have been put on the back burner. And so now we are trying to accommodate and treat the TB patients who have been lost to care, HIV patients who've been lost to care, the cancer patients who've not had surgery. That's an absolute tragedy.
There were a few silver linings. South Africa championed the fight for vaccine equity. It is also home to the continent's first vaccine development hub, which brings greater health security.
We have Afrigen developing a technology, an mRNA technology, that we will use to establish and technology transfer to local manufacturers on the African continent. We will transfer know-how and expertise because we really need to develop human capital.
Although the threat of COVID still remains, the healthcare system is no longer overwhelmed by its presence. South Africa can now focus on getting its health programs back on track and double up on goals set out in the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda.
Senegalese opposition figure Ousmane Sonko called for his supporters to take to the streets following a recent court ruling that threatens his candidacy in upcoming presidential elections. Senegalese opposition figure Ousmane Sonko called on Tuesday for his supporters to take to the streets following a recent court ruling that threatens his candidacy in upcoming presidential elections. Sonko had received a 2-month suspended sentence and a hefty fine in March for defaming tourism minister Mame Mbaye Niang, with the Dakar Appeals Court on Monday upholding the fine and increasing the suspended term to 6 months, potentially making him ineligible for the vote.
I say to the activists, to the supporters, to all the Senegalese citizens, that I reiterate my call to resistance, the one that I made in 2021 when this ignoble plot began. I reiterate it all the more because the context is much more serious than that of 2021. Because in 2021 there was only one plot, and today there are 4 to 5. The real issue was to scrutinize our justice system. Can the status of a person allow him or her to bypass the functioning of the justice system? And the Senegalese justice system has demonstrated its greatness, its resilience, its ability to function, and its capacity to be above the political game in spite of the contingencies.
He claims the judiciary is being used to sideline him, and his possible elimination would significantly alter the contest and could lead to violence from his supporters. Sonko asked his supporters to stay on your feet and mobilize, and in particular to come out in large numbers on Friday. His address followed calls earlier on Tuesday by other leaders of his Here We Ask and We coalition for protest on Friday and again on May 19.
For the first time, Macky Sall, aided by his judges, has taken an action, a preview in any case of his obsession with getting rid of Ousmane Sonko and keeping him out of the 2024 presidential election. We cannot say that the state of Senegal has initiated a procedure just to prevent a potential presidential candidate from running. It does not make sense, since the state of Senegal has not initiated any legal proceedings against him.
Senegal is traditionally a beacon of stability in troubled West Africa, but in recent years has been buffeted by turbulence that has at times turned deadly. Sonko, 48, came third in the 2019 election against Sall, but his candidacy this time around has been clouded by Monday's unfavorable appeal decision. Sonko is also facing trial later this month for alleged rape and death threats over a complaint filed by an employee at a beauty salon where he went for a massage. He says he's the victim of a government plot to scupper his candidacy. The government has denied the accusation, with spokesman Abdoukarim Fofana saying on Tuesday that everyone is answerable before the law, whether an opponent or in power or a government minister. The capital of Cameroon, many patients suffering from body and facial defects arrive at the military hospital, where a campaign offering free corrective surgery is taking place. In Yaoundé, the capital of Cameroon, many patients suffering from body and facial defects arrive at the military hospital, where a campaign offering free corrective surgery is taking place. Among the patients is Fabrice Itunu, who is seeking to have a bothersome tumor on his face removed.
I feel really stigmatized because you can't go unnoticed. When you go somewhere, all eyes are on you, especially when it's on your face, so you can't go unnoticed. The goal of this mission is not to operate on a maximum number of patients. It is to operate on patients to whom we'll be able to give hope, whom we'll be able to give a social life, because unfortunately, disfiguring pathologies, malformations are a source of exclusion. The patients here are seeking to end the discomfort they have lived through. They will no longer be afraid of others and will live with the hope of ending their stigma. The cases are numerous. There are cases of goiter, cases of malformations, those with large scars. Everyone rushes. The hospital is really full as everything is free. In fact, the checkups are free.
According to the World Health Organization, 7.9% of mortality in sub-Saharan Africa is related to congenital deformities. In Cameroon, many patients who need corrective surgery come from poor families who lack the means to pay for their treatment. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan faces his biggest electoral challenge on Sunday, with the country recovering from deadly earthquakes and economic crises and a united opposition under the leadership of Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu vowing democratic reform. More details in the report.
Turkey's largest and newest warship is on display in front of the palace of the country's old Ottoman rulers. The ship features prominently in President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's campaign, a symbol of the growing regional power of Turkey in a dangerous neighborhood.
Regarding the defense industry, regarding economy, regarding reconstruction and rehabilitation at the earthquake region, and showing a very strong foreign policy discourse with this, a strong statement he wants to show to the public, and he will try to show that I am the man who can run the country under such a very, the crisis period, international instability.
Erdogan's strongman image is in stark contrast to his main challenger, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, a bookish retired civil servant who advocates consensus rather than confrontation and polarization, often addressing the nation from his kitchen table on YouTube.
What is important, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's, political stance itself. Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu is, during the last, 5 years at least, he is trying to, build bridge between the different segments of the country.
Kılıçdaroğlu has built a broad coalition of 6 parties, including secularists, Islamists, and former Erdogan ministers, on a platform of democratic reform and a return to parliamentary democracy. The election is taking place in the aftermath of February's deadly earthquakes, which claimed over 50,000 lives and saw heavy criticism of the government's response. But many see 40% plus inflation and a cost of living crisis as the most important issues in these polls.
It's of course the economy. Economy is the number one issue. Everyone has slid at least one class. All the socio-economic classes have gone down. So everybody is feeling the bite of the economic crisis.
Erdogan's 2-decade rule of his AKP party saw the emergence of the new, powerful conservative middle class, which observers say has remained loyal until now.
The AKP has a very, very solidified, and old age electorate from whom they've been getting votes for a very, very long time, and to whom they have been distributing the riches.
Voters on Sunday face a choice between 2 men of sharply different character and vision for the future of Turkey, in a poll widely predicted to be the closest in decades.
Ireland's elections on May 14 are roughly pitting pro-democracy opposition parties against conservative military generals and their allies who have run the country for nearly a decade.
This human rights lawyer hopes Thailand's May 14 vote will bring the pro-democracy Move Forward party into government. Sasinan Thamnitinan, popularly known as Lawyer Jammy, is a political newcomer running for a seat representing Bangkok. Move Forward says it wants to get the military out of Thai politics and make the country a fairer, more equal place. Jammy hopes that message might just be enough to cause an upset, especially if the 4 million first-time young voters get behind the party.
This election is very, very important for the Thai people, because I hope that in this election will change our country, will change about the politics in Thailand. I hope that in the 10 years in the future for my kids, they will grow up in the country. This is the real democracy.
In 2019, Move Forward, then called Future Forward, won 80 seats in the National Assembly, becoming a rival to populist parties loyal to ex-Premier Thaksin Shinawatra. For the party's young radical agenda to break monopoly businesses, demilitarized politics, and weaken Thailand's top royal defamation law, which shields the monarchy from all criticism, was seen as a threat to Thailand's elite. The party was dissolved, and its charismatic leader Thanathorn Juangroongruangkit banned from political office for a decade, sparking mass protests. The party has rebranded as Move Forward. Its current leader, Pitha Limjaroenrat, a Harvard-educated business executive, says they're the only ones addressing national concerns.
We're not really fully democratic in the sense that the country has been militarized for a very long time, so that the power structure as well as national budgets that's being focused on this militarized country, parliament, government, you know. The second thing is on the monopoly. We've been monopolized for a long time, so that the inequality of the money in our pocket is not so much bad luck, but it's structurally inherited in our economic structure.
The polls show his party in strong second place behind Pheu Thai, a populist party that has long challenged the conservative establishment, helmed by Pathongthan Shinawatra, the daughter of the party's founder. Move Forward's proposed reforms contrast with what Pheu Thai offers, which is a mix of populist handouts for the poor and old-style patronage politics.
Move Forward is the only party that talks about structural change that is needed, as this country is run by capitalists who are squeezing everything out of the grassroots people at the bottom.
Those bold reforms also carry risks in a kingdom where the country's military has often intervened in politics. There are fears Move Forward could run into legal problems fast, depending on how well it does on May 14. But with 40% of voters aged under 42, Lawyer Jammy says change for Thailand could be stalled, but not stopped.
To end this news edition, here's a recap of our top stories. The Certificate of Primary Education is the first exam in school curriculum. Learners are usually still very young when they face this first milestone in their lives. The motorbike is the most flexible mode of transport, the fastest over short distances. It is also the most adapted to the state of Benin's road and the closest to users of all categories. South Africa's Health Minister Joe Fowler says that COVID-19 had a devastating impact on families and livelihoods and added pressure to the country's health system. Here we'll conclude today's news edition, coming to you live from Golfe TV Africa. Enjoy the rest of your day.